All right, welcome to another episode of Scotty Talks Philly Sports. I'm welcomed by two very special guests. You guys already know Sam from 4th of Jawn, Swagman95 on Twitter. You guys have already seen him on here. This is about his third time, right, Sam? Third
I
time?
think
Fourth time?
fourth. I think fourth.
Fourth? Yeah, I think so too. And then my man Luke Stansfield, also of 4th and Jawn. You can find him on Twitter. Hey, man, what's up, Luke?
How we doing?
Man has the crazy stats. He comes with all the crazy statistics, man. So, and then of course, Sam's got the fantasy sports on lock. So, I got my guys with some good knowledge here. You can find Luke at Luke_stands, also a writer for 4th and Jawn. So I'm basically with the 4th and Jawn, some of the 4th and Jawn crew today.
Yeah, but, baby.
It's all good.
I'm excited to chat it up, baby.
Yeah, man, we got some interesting stuff going on per usual in Philadelphia. Shit's just going crazy this season. It's 2020 in a nutshell, to say the least. We'll jump right into it, man. We'll go ahead and get into it. Jalen Hurts named the starter against New Orleans this week. We got New Orleans coming to town, Week 14 matchup. New Orleans is hot. I know they might have Drew Brees back. They might not. I know Taysom Hill hasn't really, missed a step. But it'll be an interesting matchup, to say the least. With the Jalen Hurts move, let's jump right in. Was it the right move, guys? Whoever wants to go first, just hop right on that.
Sam, you can attack it first because I hate talking about it, but I want to hear your take first.
It was the only move. You didn't really have another move. Wentz sucks, and as Doug said a couple of weeks ago, the season's over when you're starting someone else. So we can accept the season's over. Hope that Hurts looks good, and move on to the draft process, and beginning to start planning for next year because the season is a wash at this point. So yeah, I think you kind of had to start him.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as Sam. Like I've been a Wentz defender since he's been here and came here in 2016. But it's pretty hard to deny that this is the right move, and there's a couple reasons why. I think the biggest is what good is going to come out of Carson Wentz playing the remainder of the season. Like I honestly don't see anything good coming out of it. He's injured all the time, he's injury prone. I don't believe that. I think he had some freak accidents, but if you do want to trade him at the end of the day, it makes sense to not play him because one, he's just showing everybody why he's not playing real well right now, and two, there's a chance that he could get hurt. Especially they're playing the Saints defense this weekend, who's arguably the best defense in the NFL. So I think it's the right move. I don't like the pick overall. I don't know why we ever did that. And you kind of could see this coming from miles and miles away. And I think it's safe to say that, the Wentz wagon wheels have completely fell off. So.
Yeah. And, basically to you guys' point, Jalen Hurts will never agree that was the right move. But when you make a pick like that, this is what you have. If Wentz was struggling like this and we didn't have Jalen Hurts there would be nowhere else to go, right? We're not going to put Sudfeld out there. So, we created this and now we have to live with it as an organization. Whether or not that pick affected Wentz's season this year, I don't think it can affect you that much to where he's lost. Some of the stuff that he's doing wrong is stuff that we've complained about since he was a rookie. But some of it is, just clear regression. So not only are you not getting better, you've gotten, worse in other areas. Once again, we could talk about Wentz for a little bit. Once again, I just feel like it's one of those seasons for Wentz where you can't accurately measure what kind of player he is. Because once again, everything was so screwed up around him that, he just gets these built-in excuses. And, this was the season where I was like, man, we can't give him any more excuses. And I'm a Wentz apologist. I'm an admitted Wentz apologist. Like you guys, I can't do it anymore without looking like a moron. So I've let that go. I understand it. Jalen Hurts came in last week and, people were saying it was prevent defense. It wasn't all prevent defense. He looked pretty good. He was getting out of the pocket, and that's what he brings. He brings mobility, and with a bad offensive line, you could use more mobility behind the center. You got to see what Hurts has got. We'll talk about the trade destinations for Wentz and stuff like that. Obviously, we saw the report that came out today. That's what Luke was referring to, and we'll get into that. But it was the right move, like you guys said. What's the best that could happen? Wentz gets injured. Wentz, if Wentz was going to play himself out of this funk, it would have happened by now. I mean,
that wouldn't happen in 4 weeks, right? He wouldn't win the job in 4 weeks. And I think another thing too is like, the thing that just is scaring me though is, I mean, if Jalen Hurts balls out, Howie Roseman's going to look like the smartest man ever, and Carson Wentz, his fate's pretty much going to be sealed. So that's what really scares me. It's like there's a catch to it. Like, if he does play well, which I mean, obviously we want him to.
We want him to. Yeah.
There's a very big chance that Howie's going to be like, "Well, told you so. I picked him in the second round. Everyone was saying that's a bad pick." I mean, look at Wentz. He's had the lowest overall drop in QBR in the history of the statistic. So it's like from 1 year to another. So it's like, what is happening? And I think it's a combination of a lot of things. It's play calling, it's personnel, it's the O-line, like you alluded to. I mean, he's been sacked. He's on pace to be sacked the fourth most sacked quarterback in NFL history. I mean, we thought Deshaun Watson was bad 2-3 years ago. This is bad, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching Jason Peters. He looks like he's a statue. Like, it's bad.
He's a turnstile.
It's everything. It's everything.
He's just a turnstile.
Right.
As he pleases. But yeah, this is a mess. I think he's got too many voices in his ear telling him what he needs to do, and he can't listen to each and every one of them. They're all telling him different things. They need one guy to be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
this didn't work. This whole collaborative effort, it didn't work, and now this is what happens with it.
And to you guys' points, like a combination of things. So like, what people won't understand, and I guess it's what was kind of getting on my nerves these last couple of weeks. Wentz is not playing good. He hasn't had a good game the entire season. He's had games where he's had good halves, but he hasn't had a full good game the entire season. But just the complete nitpick. It got to the point where we were nitpicking literally every single play that Wentz was doing, like whether it was good, bad, or a missed throw, holding the ball too long, the offensive line giving up the pressure too quick. So what we have to understand with Wentz down that stretch there, once you fell in that rabbit hole of sucking and losing confidence, it's never ending with the offensive line like that. You're never going to get it back. And something that doesn't really get talked about this season is Wentz's comfortability with Lane Johnson. It's been recorded, over the last couple of years, how much better and confident he plays when Lane Johnson is in there on that right side. Not there, Brandon Brooks not there all season. Kelsey has struggled. The multiple lineups. I mean, like you said, Lou, he's on pace to get sacked. I mean, he's over 50 sacks, and we're 14 weeks. We're to week 14 right now. That's insane. I mean, and I don't mean this to sound like excuses, even though they are excuses. I just want people to understand that most quarterbacks wouldn't perform well in this environment. Yeah. And there are quarterbacks that could do better, but there's not many quarterbacks that are going to do well. And I think, with a guy like Jalen Hurts, if he comes in and has a little bit of success, I'm not going to be that surprised with his mobility compared to Wentz's, where, Wentz is just running for his life and he can't get out of there. We saw Jalen Hurts, and I think down the stretch of a game, him playing a whole game, you may start to see him get sacked a little bit more as well. But, just his ability to get out of some of those scrambles and just get back to the line of scrimmage makes such a big difference. From not going into a 3rd and 15 or a 3rd and 10, the difference between those two, taking a sack on second down that's a drive killer. I mean,
absolutely.
For us to get 15 yards, it's not going to happen.
Hasn't Hurts also been like a fumble machine in his limited snaps? Hasn't he fumbled like 3 times this year already?
Yeah. A lot of it was on the actual snaps, though.
Right.
You know, a lot of it was like shotgun snaps going through his hands or, you know, hitting him in the chest. Like, it's not really contact fumbles mostly, but I mean,
it's a product of being unprepared.
I'm glad you brought up the mobility thing because I mean that's what he was like. That was his thing in college. That was his trait, right?
Right.
I mean, it was
a running quarterback,
both at Alabama and Oklahoma. So I mean, and Wentz, he just doesn't look like himself, man. Whether it be the ACL or putting on, you know, 15 pounds in the offseason, it's like he doesn't look the same. So
yeah, you talked about that a lot as well. You know, that diet that he was on and kind of how that's affected him. And you know, he doesn't. He looks slow. I mean, his reaction time is really what throws me off. That's like you see him get down the field a couple times, and once he picks up some steam, he can get going. But his reaction time in the pocket, you know, when that pressure comes in, that's not the Wentz we know. I mean, the Wentz we know. You know, mind you, the offensive line has been better. Those breakdowns don't happen as often. But when those breakdowns happen, he was getting out of the pocket when, you know, maybe even just a year ago. So, you know, Wentz, the regression is real. And we can't sit here and make excuses, you know, against that regression. Yes, there's shit going on around him. But, you know, at the end of the day, you got to play at the same time. With Hurts, you know, you brought up the fumbles and, you know, like we said with Kelsey and how he struggled this season, just with simply snapping the ball.
It's the first time I've ever seen that, honestly.
Like, it's weird. It's weird. And what that you know says to me, what the hell are these guys doing in practice, man? Because you know, I remember specifically last week a sack that Carson Wentz took is because it was a screenplay and Boston Scott ran into Jalen Reagor. And it completely, the play is over. It's a drive killer immediately. As soon as they run into each other, as the ball is snapped, the play's over. Wentz is sacked. It's a screen already anyway, so your offensive linemen are bailing. And, you know, just simple stuff like that it's just like, what the hell are you guys doing? You guys are never prepared. And the penalties, I mean, the discipline is never there. And you know, even Zach Ertz and Goddard, I saw, you know, just a little like, not understanding what's going on. Like Zach Ertz had to tell Goddard to get the hell off the field at one point. It was really an awkward exchange, especially after what I've heard between those two guys. But man, what do you guys? How do you guys feel about these practice? I mean, there's got to be something up here. I mean, the player development, you know, just the organization, the game plan is never there. I mean, what's going on? What do you guys think is the? There's so many issues. I don't know where they're at.
There's no discipline.
What do you guys think? Like, I don't get it.
There's no discipline at all. I think you need to tear the entire thing down, replace as many people. With a new GM comes a whole new group of employees, you know, beneath him, since he's responsible for everyone.
Yeah.
Except for the vice president and Laurie himself. So, you know, with Howie gone, a whole new group of people, medical personnel, strength and conditioning, offense, defense, everything will change. So with that, you would hope that the discipline and the lackadaisical nature of this team, because they do never look prepared at all. It's a major issue. They'll never win football games that way.
I mean, that New York Giants game out of the bye week tells you everything you need to know.
It was atrocious.
I think it's the arrogance that's like the hangover, the Super Bowl hangover. And I think it shows in two things. It shows in Doug literally, I mean, they don't have an offensive coordinator. So that's the head coach worrying about the offense and then all the other head coach responsibilities. So he's probably not allotting enough time to either one of those. So that speaks to the discipline thing, Sam. Mm-hmm. And then what you brought up, you know, the literal schemes and how people are running into each other and no one knows who's on the field in certain packages. And then I think the other thing is, you know, practice. And like, this is a weird year, man. 2020 is weird. Like, they didn't have a lot of time to prepare. So you got to change things up. And I mean, from what I've seen, they do a lot of non-contact practices, a lot of non-padded practices. And it doesn't seem like he changed his philosophy at all, Peterson. So I think those two are really evident, and that's why we're sitting where we are. And I think it just is a testament to like the arrogance behind this franchise is somehow birthed over a Super Bowl win in 2017.
Yeah, and
I agree.
to that point, you've seen how many players that have left the team, came into the team and then left the team and says, why are you guys living in 2017? Like, it's one thing for fans to live in 2017. We can do whatever the hell we want. You know what I mean?
Right,
but for the players, we have to live in 2017. But those guys, get your head out of your ass. Like, and the arrogance stems up even further than just Doug to all the way to Howie, to where, we've been talking about this for years, how Howie thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. He knows best over everybody else. He can never agree with anybody else because, he has to be smarter. He has to be one step ahead. And, that comes down to taking obvious draft picks. Simple things like bringing Malcolm Jenkins back. You saw what Malcolm Jenkins said about Howie today. He didn't say Howie's name, but who else is he talking about? Whether it was coaching and Howie or just Howie. But, the arrogance is just so apparent on this team. Like, every week they come out of these losses and they tell us, we got to be better. We can play better than this. We're going to turn it around. Just because you did it the last 2 years, you get off to these slow starts. That's not a normal thing, okay? Like that's not normal. So,
and you don't pride yourself on getting out slow. Like, I mean, you saw the Super Bowl year; they started what 11-1, 11-2,
11-2 until Carson got injured.
Man, like,
and they still finished 13-3. And they still finished 13-3. You have to finish strong. You have to start strong.
I mean, you look at Andy Reid. I love that you brought up the bye week. That man is out of the bye week. He is prepared. He used that week and a half to be like, this is what we're doing, and we have to win this game because it usually falls pretty close into like the middle of the season. So that's a big momentum swing. You have a week break, you go home, you see people, you see your family, blah blah blah. You come back and it's business, and you're ready to go, and you come out and you win. I mean, I think Peterson has won, I believe, once out of the bye week in his career. I could be wrong, but I do believe it's one time out of the bye week. And
it's either that or no.
His preparation.
Yeah. And, even the thing that got me about the bye week was, that second part of the bye week. So we had, about 2 weeks off with like the whole Thursday night football into that bye week. So the thing that got me was that second week you had guys like Fletcher Cox and Jason Peters like taking rest days. You just had a week off. What are you taking rest days off for? That's what the bye week is
arrogance.
for.
Exactly.
Complacency.
Exactly.
Ah, man. So yeah, we can let that at that. I do want to touch on Jalen Hurts, right? So while we think that maybe he could have at least more success than Carson Wentz, maybe not be that, bad. What if it does go south against New Orleans? You said it earlier, Luke. New Orleans has one of the best defenses in the NFL, if not the best. They've definitely been playing great lately. What if it goes south? Is Wentz an option? Is Wentz an option mid-game to go to if it really goes south? You feel like you're hurting your young QB's confidence?
No, I don't think so. Go ahead, Sam.
No, right?
No, you can go first this time.
So I don't think so because, I mean, that's a really big decision you just made to put in this rookie, right? And, I actually saw something today, and I think it was Mosher tweeted out. In Doug's press conference, he said that he's not sure who's going to be the backup. Like, so, I mean.
I did not see that, but that is.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either.
And well, he said, I'm not sure, but it will likely be Carson. But I mean, if you don't have anything in your mind saying, "Oh, you know what? I might just give him a rest week or just give him the rest of the season off," why would you say something like that? I mean, it makes no sense. So I don't think there's even close to an option. Putting Wentz in. I think regardless if it's going south, it's productive because you can see the problems with Hurts and the overall problems with the whole offense, and it kind of takes the blame a little bit off of Wentz because it's like, maybe it isn't him, maybe it's it is him, but maybe it's partially because like the receivers aren't creating separation. I mean, the offensive line is letting up 4.5, 5 sacks a game, like. It'll expose the actual issues behind this 3-8-1 season so far.
Right. I can't bring myself to root for an Eagles loss. I always want to see them do well, but piggybacking off of Luke, there's nothing to gain from the Eagles winning for the rest of the season. I mean, we can all agree on that, right? There's nothing to gain. You don't gain anything if Hurts plays well. Our franchise gets set back another 5 years because you literally just spent $128 million for nothing.
Yeah.
And you're stuck with it. You're stuck with it for 2 more years. So there's that. The only thing that gets gained by winning is chaos. And Jalen Hurts may be feeling good about himself. Great. But should never been here to start with. So
yeah. But here we are.
Yeah, so I guess you want to lose out. So that's the point. If it happens, great.
To piggyback off that, I guess what I would ask you then is, so if Jalen Hurts, knock on wood, God forbid, if he was to get hurt, who's the backup quarterback? Do you think? Do you just throw Sudfeld out there, or
no? It would be Wentz. It would be Wentz.
I think you put Wentz in. I mean, injury is a whole other story. That would also be terrible because that would just everything would just
be terrible.
Yeah, fall to dust. That would be awful. But I think strictly because of a preparation standpoint, you have really not. Nate Sudfeld probably hasn't been getting much reps.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even think he's been active most of the
season. I don't know why they would put him in there. And the report I talked about earlier, I don't think Wentz isn't going to be the backup, but
yeah.
If Peter's saying that, that's a little weird, man.
It would be what Washington did with Dwayne Haskins when, Kyle Allen went down. He wasn't even the backup. He's not even active. And it's just a whole show of disrespect. And the guy you just paid for a rookie last year on a rookie contract, one thing. Wentz, $128 million deal, whole other story.
And I think, the ironic thing about this right now, as much as we hated that pick, is that as of right now, before this game on Sunday, Jalen Hurts is the only sense of like real hope that we can maybe, like rely on right now, because Wentz, we don't know what the hell is going on with him. And, while we all might sit here and believe that he can be turned around, that he can be fixed, he might not be able to. The injuries may have caught up to his ability. You never know. So, Jalen Hurts is, like, to you guys' point, how terrible that if he was to get injured would be. Then we're looking at like the same
QB factory.
Like, oh my God!
Factory just
it will make your mind. So and on another note, I think you just owe it to Hurts to give him a full game. I mean, you gave Carson however many games, 12 games, 13 games, whatever the case may be. You gave Carson that many games. Hurts deserves to get at least one full game, right? Like he deserves to get his shot. So, I'm with you guys there. So in that case, this kind of piggybacks off that. Is Wentz done for the season? Is there any scenario where you see Wentz coming back other than, injuries, obviously?
Yeah, I think injury is the only way he does.
Yeah.
I mean, and Peterson has said in a press conference before, he said, a quarterback change indicates the end of the season. So, I mean, lo and behold, here we are, quarterback change, end of the season.
Yeah. Unless he looks like Nate Peterman and is throwing 5 picks a game, you can do that. But
so then I guess we'll piggyback off of that. And is Wentz your honest opinions, it's very early. We haven't even seen Hurts play. Is Wentz done in Philly? And we'll get into trade destination stuff like that afterwards. Is Wentz done, gut feeling, in Philly right now?
Yes. I think he's done.
Barring everyone getting fired this season, Doug and Howie, probably.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Sam. If they clear house, they get rid of Howie and Doug. I mean, and obviously if they get rid of the head coach, we'll probably get rid of guys like Press Taylor and stuff like that, because the new head coach will probably want to bring in his own staff. Barring that, I think he's done. And I see one of either Doug and Howie coming back, and the other not. I think it's Doug that will not be coming back. But I just think it's a bad situation, and it's kind of like Andy Reid way back when we were like, it's his time, and it's not necessarily because we don't believe in him, but it's just because it's so toxic, and there's just so much baggage that will come along with every season that it might just be worth it to just get away from it, to be honest with you. I personally hate that, but I mean, you got to look at it at a level-headed standpoint. I mean, this is bad. Like you said, he's got so many voices. He's got so many voices. I mean, even his own voice in his own head.
Yeah,
it's just he's beating himself up, and you can tell. And you don't hear Howie or Doug taking the blame. You always hear Carson taking the blame, and that probably drives him crazy. That's what he has to do. He's the franchise quarterback. He was the franchise quarterback. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't always want to be saying it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. Because
when it's clearly not just your fault. You know what I mean?
No way. I mean, you saw him on the sideline, kind of getting in Press Taylor's face.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd never seen him, show that type of fire. So it's like, it's kind of pissing him off.
It's been crazy how, our dysfunctionality has been put on full front for national media and national audience. I mean, you look at the Seahawks game, you had the entire Sunday night broadcast was about when Wentz was going to get benched for Hurts. It was the entire broadcast. That's all they talked about.
Literally.
And then, of course, no, that was Monday Night Football. I'm sorry. But so then you have, you have this past week against Green Bay on, it's a national 4:00 game. And then, of course, you start the game out with Carson Wentz screaming at Press Taylor. Then you finish it up with Jalen Hurts coming in. And it's just been complete dysfunctionality. To you guys' points, toxic. I mean, how relieving would it really be to finally have Carson Wentz out of here and you don't have to defend him anymore? I mean,
yeah. No, that's
it's
a really
been
good
so
point.
constant. It's been
I'm
so
getting tired of it. I can only imagine.
Tired of it.
It would be the worst thing, well, that's a bad choice of words. It would be awful to see Wentz go off and have success somewhere else, knowing that he wasn't the main cause behind everything that happened here. But can you really see this ending any other way? I mean, the guy already went through one QB controversy 2 years after they won a Super Bowl, for fuck's sake. How is it fair to ask him to suffer through another one?
Yeah, and bless his heart. Like, he's been humbled through it all. I mean,
he's given everything to this franchise, and they just turned around and treated him like shit.
Yeah.
They tried to help him. It really wasn't their fault that they missed. It really wasn't his fault that they missed on almost every single pick.
I put something out on the timeline about and it seems like it's a soft mindset, but like the whole statue thing, like I get it, it was donated and all this, but like, dude, imagine that. Like you
get to walk in the team every day.
You lead your team to a first round bye, home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and I mean, I get it. It's the first Super Bowl. I mean. But put the damn statue at the art museum, man. Don't put it out front of the link.
Something.
What's your problem? You're basically telling your franchise quarterback he literally walks by. I don't know how much he walks by people were coming at me about that. But he walks by it, and he sees his head coach holding a playbook and talking to his backup, and it's like that's the image of that year. It's like that probably eats at him.
And unfortunately, that's what he's and I hate it, but that's what he's going to be remembered for. When he leads the squad, and I hate it. But to Sam's point, it's just like, and to yours too, Luke. It's just pure toxicness, and to put him through this again, like we just went through this. He just got the monkey off his back last season. We saw him play a full season, take the team to the playoffs. And then, boom, we put the monkey right back. And, Howie Roseman has stabbed him in the back. You can look at even Doug and ask yourself, has Doug just been sabotaging him the entire time? There's so much questionable stuff. Luke, you brought it up to me before we hopped on here. Doug came out and said in his press conference today, we're going to do things to get Jalen Hurts comfortable. Run the football, screens, quick decisions. Underneath routes.
I mean, that's what we've been begging. Like, we've been literally begging for that. Pre-snap motion. I guarantee we see at least 10 pre-snap motions, and we're going to see Jalen Hurts roll out of the pocket a lot. I mean, you saw it as soon as he came in the other day. He was rolling out of the pocket. His first 5 passes, he was outside of the tackle box, and it was designed. So it's like, dude, come on. And then another thing is, I saw today, Jason Peters and Alshon Jeffrey might not play Sunday because of soreness. What the hell have they done?
Or because they suck.
Like, Jason Peters hasn't finished the game all year. Alshon Jeffrey runs half-assed 10-yard routes and pushes off against offensive. He has more OPIs than catches this year. It's like, come on, man. Like, I'm thoroughly convinced it is sabotaging, and I've been coining this term called like Foles syndrome. Like, everyone plays harder. The whole game plan is changed when Carson Wentz is not the quarterback. And it started with Nick Foles, and now it's going to happen with Jalen Hurts, and it's mind-blowing. It's like, what is going on? It could have been an anomaly last time it happened with Foles, but it's evident, and it was evident in 1.5 quarters, man. Like, even the punt return for a touch. I didn't see Jalen Reagor return a punt all year. Return a punt all year. And then, boom, Jalen Hurts is in. All right, we're going to put a playmaker that should have been doing this all year back to return the punt because we need a spark. That's what they call it, a spark. Get the hell out.
It's a clown show.
I agree. It is. It's terrible. It's terrible. I can't wait for this season to be over.
Same,
I don't think I've ever said that. I don't think I've ever said that about an Eagles season before.
I'm ready to get the Sixer season, man.
Yeah.
This is the earliest I've ever seen, Eagles Twitter and stuff talking about, the draft. And that just says it all.
It's been a while. We don't get top 10 picks very often, man. But we're headed down that road.
We haven't had one in forever.
Lane Johnson, I think, was our last top.
Real top 10 pick.
Yeah, real top 10.
Wentz,
it was
the Wentz
draft. It was the year after Andy was fired. It was the year after Andy was fired.
Yeah. And then so I guess what we can talk about now, obviously we saw that article come out. I think it was Brandon Lee Gouton. He heard from a CBS analyst that apparently the Eagles will be open to offers for Wentz. So I guess, obviously, I don't want to lose him, but at the same time, you kind of just want to get over it. With that being said, what are some good options? Who do you think is like a team that would be a real buyer on Wentz? The obvious one, I think we all,
Indy
is Indy. Yeah. Obviously, it makes a ton of sense. What are some other teams that you think could take a bite on him?
I'll give you one that's would make every Eagles fan throw up, but is quite possible, even though we have a history of never dealing with them. The Cowboys. Jerry Jones loves them. He always has. He probably didn't he say he probably would have drafted Wentz if we hadn't taken him?
I'm pretty sure he did say that. Yeah, something.
Now
along those lines.
I know we never traded with the Cowboys, but
We traded McNabb to the Redskins. So
I would say a dark horse would be Denver. They have. I read it. I looked it up today. They're projected to have about $25 million in free cap headed into the next year, and that probably ranks among the top NFL teams. I think that would be a decent fit. Drew Lock hasn't really turned out to be their guy. They just drafted a Jerry Jeudy, and they got Noah Fant, among other weapons. They got two really talented running backs. It's kind of the same situation as Philly, except
a little bit. Yeah.
The talent has a little bit more upside, or at least they showed a little bit more upside, and is pretty young.
Yeah.
So I could see that. I don't know what the coaching situation in Denver is going to be like. So that could.
I think they're going to keep. They're going to keep Vic. They're going to keep Vic. And Elway does. Yeah, and Elway loves his inaccurate QBs. He loves it.
I got two more for you.
Loves them tall and he loves them inaccurate.
And it would be really weird seeing them in either two of these jerseys, but I would say Pittsburgh and New England.
I was thinking Pittsburgh, man.
Yeah.
Because you just look at their quarterbacks, their aging quarterbacks. Cam Newton hasn't returned to his 2018, 2017 self. And Ben Roethlisberger's playing well, but I mean, you got to think that he's going to be probably hanging them up soon.
Soon.
And I mean, both teams have a plethora of young talent, especially Pittsburgh. You look at that offense. I mean, Wentz could probably get away with dropping back and throwing the ball 10 times because, I mean, like he has so many weapons that there's and their defense. It's really more their defense that would just like it would literally win him games. It would take so much pressure off of him. And at least in New England, they got some young talent. Some guys haven't really lived up to their names yet. Damian Harris, but he was injured. I mean, he's starting.
He's good though.
A little bit. Yeah, no, he's good. He's starting to really produce. And I mean, you look at Bill Belichick. He was able to blossom Jimmy G into some type of like
looking good, like appearing to be good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and he was a backup. So imagine what he would do with a starting quarterback like Wentz. And I think he loves him. And there's just I don't have any faith in either quarterback on that roster. So I think Belichick might try to go make a move.
So what do you guys think what type of deal would it take to get Wentz? With that contract and with his play this year,
2 months ago,
I think they could get a first rounder. I think they could.
I think they could too. I think the rest of the league is squarely in the fact that they still believe that Wentz is a good quarterback. I don't think they've really taken the bait kind of like Philly has. Philly thinks he's awful now.
Yeah.
And I think the rest of the league knows that he can still be a good quarterback. He just needs to be surrounded with people who will actually work with him to be a good quarterback and not let him fall back into these awful habits that kind of been showing up over and over and over again since 2016.
I think, to your point, Sam, if you take just a general look at the Eagles this season, if you're like an NFL, scout, analyst, whatever, talent evaluator, you have to look at this team and be like, man, none of their players are really that good. None of them are performing that well. Miles Sanders, you know what I mean? We thought some of these guys were star worthy. Miles Sanders, and maybe he is. We don't know. He doesn't get used. So, you have to look at this team and be like, well, who have they made better? You know what I mean? So can you even go off what you see when you see these players on this roster? I mean, I don't know how far you can go with that. I think another thing that factors in on what teams would really be going after him, Is Wentz looking at a season like Jameis Winston where he has to sit behind somebody? Or is he going into a like a QB battle? Is he going into – because even when you put it like that, you could put him with teams like New Orleans. You could put him with teams like Tampa Bay with Brady. I mean, there's options out there. You know what I mean?
I was thinking about Tampa too.
Yeah, Tampa.
Yeah, I was thinking about Tampa.
Those weapons, that's interesting.
Arians loves a QB that can throw the ball, and Wentz can certainly throw it.
It really depends to me, I guess. What's Wentz's plan? I'm sure he wants to start. You don't want to pay that guy that much money to sit, on your bench either. So you have to factor that in. But a place like Pittsburgh, man, where he could sit behind Ben for maybe one more year, get his head right, and come back. You know what I mean? And Pittsburgh's a place that they could get his head right. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin's a really good coach. I mean, he sets a really good locker room. You've seen like guys like Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell when they would lash out a little bit. I mean, they're really good players, but he cut it out. He got rid of them, and it didn't affect anything.
Right.
So, I mean, he sets a really good precedent in the locker room. But I think if they do want to try to get a first round pick or something of a value like that, maybe a player or something, I think the Eagles are going to have to be willing to eat some of the contract.
I
got the numbers right here. So this is the cap, the dead hit. The cap hit implications for 2021 and 2022. So in 2021. If Wentz is on the roster, it costs the Eagles $34.7 million. If he's cut, it costs $59.2 million. If he's traded, it costs $33.8 million. So, I mean, that's what, $900,000 less if he's on the roster compared to traded. So, I mean, you're basically paying the same price to just not have him on the roster. So, right. It's a little. I'm a little weary of it, and I don't think that it would be the best decision, especially if a team asks them to, take $10 million a year and put that on your books. It's like, all right, now we're looking at $43 million instead of paying him $34 million when he's here. It gets a little better in 2022. If he's on the roster, it's $31.3 million. If he's cut, it's $39.5, and if he's traded, it's $24.5. So that's about a $5 million difference compared to, if he's traded or if he's rostered. So I think it will require some financial, what's the word I'm looking for? Financial, planning, I guess you could say, because you have to look at it like teams. The Eagles have no power in this conversation right now.
Right.
And teams are going to abuse that. And there's coaches that think they're very, very smart and they can develop a damn trash can. And it's like, they're not going to say that to you. They're going to play the card where it's like, oh, I don't know. Look at his numbers. He was pretty bad.
15 interceptions.
They talk into, $10 million a year, and they're like, all right, let's go. We just got our franchise quarterback. I'm going to develop him 10 times better than they did in Philadelphia, and we're going to pay him $10 million less than they did in Philadelphia.
So then I guess next question, and this is kind of where we'll leave it at. First of all, what would you guys do if you were the GM? What would you do with Wentz and Hurts? And then two, is there any dark horse chance that a team like the Jets or the Jacksonville Jaguars would be interested, not in trading their, top 5 pick, I'm not saying that, just in making a move for Wentz instead of drafting a quarterback in that first round? Maybe they use the pick on something else, use it on an offensive line, whatever the case, whatever they want to use it on. Is there any dark horse chance that a team like that may skip drafting a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or Trey Lance, Wilson, and go towards Wentz, who is a guy that has, had an MVP caliber season? He is somewhat proven, but he's somewhat disproven as well. Is there any chance? And then what would you guys do?
For the team that's going to draft Trevor Lawrence, which is whatever team that goes at 1, no.
Right.
For anybody else, yeah, there's definitely a dark horse chance. Is it likely? It might get a little more likely as you go down the line, but probably not.
I probably wouldn't.
It's definitely a possibility.
I wouldn't take Wentz over Justin Fields either. I don't think. Just
I don't
for
know.
youth and body
yeah.
composure.
There's only one player in this draft that I wouldn't take, an NFL, veteran quarterback over, and that's Trevor Lawrence. Everyone else is, still a rookie to me, but I think Lawrence is going to be, one of the great QBs that this league has. So,
yeah, I would say Jacksonville would think about it.
Yeah,
because you figure they're probably going to end up with the second overall. And people aren't talking about it, but I personally think the player with the most upside that will give you the most production for 10, 15 years is Sewell. I mean, he's a generational O-lineman.
Yeah.
And then you think it's basically like you're getting 2 picks for one. You take him and get Wentz. It's like you got your first round quarterback and you got arguably the best overall player in the draft. So it's like you just took out 2 birds with 1 stone. I mean, Gardner Minshew, I could even see them trying to rock out with him maybe 1 more year. But
I don't.
I
would hope for them, though, but they could.
I think he had his chance. I think he had his chance.
Does stuff ass backwards. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest with you. And then you think, like, why would Wentz, could he succeed there? It's like, yeah, I mean, they got some young talent.
Sure.
And I think that any change of scenery would just, be a good thing for Wentz.
Breath of fresh air, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, all right, I escaped that situation. Here we go. They just traded up, or they just traded to go get me and not take a first round quarterback, which, oh, by the way, my Eagles took a second round quarterback and
6 months after paying me.
So it's like
6 months after paying me $128 million.
Yeah, and a quick thing about that, it just shows how bad they wanted Hurts. He would have been there in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind he would have been there in the 3rd round.
Agreed.
They didn't take the chance. They went and got him in the 2nd round because they felt like they needed him. And that goes to show that everything they said about having Wentz, like confidence in Wentz and the QB factory, that was all fake. That was all a smoke screen.
They worried
because they were worried either he was going to get hurt or he was going to regress or a combination. And it is fed into. I mean, I think it's fed into the regression. Almost, it's the biggest contributing factor.
Yeah,
I think there's a 3rd option, and I know it's been tossed around, but what if Wentz just retires after this year?
Andrew Luck.
I mean, I know this has been tossed around all season. And this is not some new original thought, but it could be likely. And being benched obviously isn't gonna, turn that thought away.
I
haven't seen the fire. I haven't seen the fire in Wentz that would show that he would be able to come back and say, "Oh, well, now that I got benched, now I actually want to play." I think he's more likely to step away.
I guess, my personal belief, I guess, would be that, he would at least try to go to another team and try it out. And then if he struggled there, maybe just with the injuries, he's a real man of God. He could definitely go down a multitudes of roads. Similar to Nick Foles. I mean, Nick Foles went through his dark days and he contemplated. So I definitely see what you're saying there, Sam. I mean, if Andrew Luck could do it, and he went through similar seasons with Indy, where he was just getting the shit beat out of him. Their offensive line, it's great now, but it was tore up whenever he was started there.
He's definitely salty
David
about
Carr,
that.
David Carr?
Yeah, David Carr. David Carr as well.
Literally, him getting sacked as much as he did led him to never amounting to anything in the NFL. I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah,
it messes up mechanics. It messes up your head. You're sitting there. I mean, you see it. Carson pumps, and it's like, dude, someone's open. Well,
yeah, nobody's guarding him.
He thinks someone's on his back. So I mean,
right.
And everyone's like, oh, he fumbles so much, and he's trying to alleviate that issue. And I mean, it's kind of getting to him, I think. Mentally.
Yeah, and I think one last dark horse I'll point out, maybe even Chicago.
Yes.
They got a lack of quarterback there as well. And they got some decent guys there if they can hold on to Allen Robinson. I guess we'll move on. We don't want to spend too much time on that. It's very almost depressing.
It is.
So, I guess what we can kind of finish out on, and we'll dive into New Orleans, give a little bit about New Orleans in this show right before we end it. But can Jalen Hurts, can he save Doug and Howie's job? Can he save either or both of their jobs?
Oh yeah, if he plays well, he'll guarantee it. Well,
yeah,
I
think he can save Howie more than Doug, though. I think Doug is. I think his time is ran, whether he thinks it or the front office does. I don't think he'll be back as head coach. But like I said earlier, he could definitely, absolutely save Howie Roseman's job, because Howie's going to sit there, puff out his chest and say, I am the smartest man in the room. I took Jalen Hurts in the second round, and look at where we are now.
Paid off. Yep.
Doug Peterson just looks, when you see him in his press conferences, I mean, he's not even wearing Eagles gear, which I don't think too much into that, but he just looks so drained, man. And Carson too. I mean, if I was them, bro, I would be done. I would be done. I would be out of here. I'm not dealing with this shit every year.
Right.
I feel like no one else deals with this shit. I mean, maybe the Cowboys too. They're always in the national spotlight when they screw up. But I would be fed up if I was Doug.
We've never seen this.
The injuries and
years.
You know what I mean?
It's something we've never seen, and that's why I think we're getting such a big reaction out of Twitter and the media. And it's because it's kind of like a new thing. It's like, whoa, the Eagles, they're toxic. They have the toxic. They're coming from the team in 2017 that you would see them win a game and go in the locker room and play dreams and nightmares and go nuts.
They're having fun.
I made a little claim the other day. I think Meek Mill has to go back into jail simply because ever since he got released, the Sixers and Eagles have straight sucked. So, Meek, I love you, man, but take one for the team, dude.
Right. Take one for the city, bro. Come on. Nah, but so ultimately, I guess we can agree, partially on Carson losing his job, partially on the rest of this organization. I was kind of going to go. We've already went through that enough. We don't need to go through that again. Final things before we get out of here. Sanders, guys like Miles Sanders, Travis Fulgham, and these are opposite situations because, we can watch the tape on Fulgham. Obviously, the numbers have came out. He's not getting much separation. He's not, as great as we may have thought. Shame on us for overreacting as we do per usual. But Miles Sanders, I mean, we've seen greatness from him on a consistent basis, at least last year.
Play calling.
What do you guys think? Have we ruined guys? Do we just ruin players? I mean, Jay Jaw is inactive. We're not even going to give him a shot. He's put in the basement like Howie, when Chip Kelly came here. Just a plethora of guys that you just never see them pan out. It's specifically skill positions outside of the tight ends. The tight ends get their fair share. Have we ruined players, or is there still something can coaching turn this around? What do we have to do? Do you think Doug will get them more involved? It sounds like he's going to get them more involved now that Jalen Hurts is the quarterback, of course. What's it take, to get these guys involved? It's not rocket science.
Sam, want to take this one?
It just takes good play calling.
Yeah.
It's not much more complicated than that. You can't call 10 runs a game for the guy who's averaging 6 yards a carry. What is it? What is it, Luke? You must know this. Fourth most yards per carry and 28th most.
He leads the NFL in expected rushing yards per carry. The Eagles also lead the NFL in expected yards per carry.
And ranked 28th in rushing attempts, right?
28th in the NFL in rush attempts.
Yeah, that is actually disgrace.
So I guess what I was trying to ask is, what the hell is the issue? Why is it happening? You know what I mean? What as a coach makes you do this?
I think that, and something that not a lot of people are talking about is, Miles Sanders has had, a nagging injury that kind of dates all the way back to last year. And
right.
Is he hurt? Like, we come out of the second half and you see Boston Scott starting the second half. I mean, and at the same token, in the preseason, the report came out that, Deuce and Doug had said, Miles is our guy. He's ready to be, the workhorse, have a massive workload. And, I mean, so to go back on your word like that, it's a little weird. And I think, it might be trying to salvage him a little bit. But, like, people don't realize, like, the way to get past injury is to just constantly play. It's not to, play 5 downs, come out for 10
Let
plays.
It get cold. Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, you have to get in a rhythm because it's both a mental and a physical thing. You have to get in a rhythm. And I do feel like, maybe there is this, nagging injury that's been bothering him. Because of that report at the beginning of the year. They said that he was ready to be the guy. And then you see them, heading into a game with 4 active running backs. It's like, what's going on here? Like, something's weird.
And Miles isn't complaining either, you know what I mean? He may just not be that type of player, but I would say something.
He did come out last week and threw some shade, though. He was like, yeah, I mean, last year we had a really good run offense. We ran the ball a lot, and he was like, it's not the same this year. But, like, I mean, is he wrong? No, the numbers. But
not wrong.
And you would think with all the things that are going on with Wentz, what other way to alleviate some pressure off the quarterback than hand the ball off? Because he's thrown the ball more times than he's ever had in his career. He's getting sacked more times than he's ever had in his career. He's throwing more interceptions. That all would be lowered. Literally, you would probably cut the numbers if you just handed the ball off.
Yeah. And so it keeps you in games. I mean, it keeps you in games. And you saw them against Green Bay, one of the worst rushing defenses, just couldn't stick to it. Just couldn't. They couldn't do it. They couldn't stick to it. They just couldn't do it.
Against Cleveland, that opening drive. It's like, I mean, of course, it was ended with a Miles Sanders fumble, which that's a whole nother issue that he's got.
That one broke my heart when he fumbled that football, man. I knew Doug was going to abandon the run.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew it, man.
It was working, and I remember tweeting. I was like, "Oh my God, this rushing offense looks really, really good right now." I guarantee, in the second half, we run the ball not nearly as much as we did in the first. Lo and behold, and also because the score was a little different, but lo and behold, it happened, and it happens every week.
Yeah. So I guess we'll finish up here. Going into the Saints game, what are you guys expecting? What do you want to see? I mean, we can't do keys to victory. We don't win. We simply don't win. What are you hoping to see in this game? We don't even have to talk about the Saints really that much. I mean, they're on top of their game. Whether or not Drew Brees or Taysom Hill will be back,
doesn't matter.
To be heard. I don't think it matters too much. They've both been running the offense pretty smooth. What are you guys' feelings going into the game? What do you expect? What do you want?
Just be nice to see a cohesive game plan for once.
Yeah.
Something that runs consistently. I'll be all right with that. Outside of that, I too bothered if we win or lose. It'll be everything will just be about how Hurts plays. That just defines the rest of the season every single week.
Yeah.
I don't think you really have to focus on anything else outside of that. I think, like I said before, the focus should be moved on to next year at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to see a turnover, like no turnovers by Hurts. Because you always wanted to see that. You want to see some promise. I'm not even looking for him to light up the stat sheet, like a 300-yard game. I'm not looking for that. I want to see like a game manager type of quarterback. A quarterback.
Well, that's what he was. Do you remember? You remember he kind of was that at Alabama, 27 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Exactly.
Never was too uncareful with the football. He was never too accurate. You have to remember that. He was never too accurate either, Alabama. But I think that's what it'll be. I think he'll be a game manager, and he'll throw some picks here and there because he's a rookie and rookies do that. So.
Yeah.
And I think another big thing will be, I'm interested to see how this Eagles run defense looks, because they kind of been playing crappy over the past couple games. I mean, outside of the big run with Chubb, they actually played him. I mean, and Kareem Hunt pretty well, but
I think that's been the problem though. They're giving up big chunks.
Yeah, they're good for 1 or 2, 40, 45-yard rushes a game,
right?
And that's a backbreaker. I mean, a momentum killer at all. And I'd imagine the Saints are going to roll with Taysom Hill, because I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Right. Why would you bring Drew Brees back against the Eagles?
Right? Don't rush him.
So I mean, I'm interested to see how they play. I mean, I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching all day is Jalen Mills, because I'm going to see if he's still got it, because as if he's ever really had it.
Yeah, did he ever really have it? That's
I like his style.
I want to see how he plays and how he deals with the Saints run game, because his counterpart Rodney McLeod, I think, has been playing out of his mind, and he's super undervalued and underappreciated.
One of the only guys still giving their all, bro.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, he'll take some terrible angles on some tackles and have some stupid mistakes, but my man, the one play that sticks out to me is that play against the Browns where he blitzed the A-gap and
blew that shit up.
I think it was Kareem Hunt, and it's like him and Slay, man. They've been bringing the energy. And Alex Singleton, he's another great takeaway from this season. One of the only. But yeah, I'm interested to see the run game, and then I think the linebackers. I mean, if they do want to win. Because let's talk about it. I mean, we want them to win. If they win, it'll suck, but it won't be the worst thing.
Right. I wouldn't mind beating New Orleans either. Not at all. Jalen Hurts, it would be kind of awesome.
Right. And because of they destroy us, whether it's in the playoffs or the regular season. Remember, I think it was 2 years ago, they took our pants down, basically.
48-7 game.
So I think we'll need some keys would be, really good safety and linebacker play. I think Greg Ward's going to have a really big day because I think he's going to be, that outlet for Hurts, especially after hearing Doug say, we're going to start working on underneath stuff and pre-snap motion and stuff like that. I think Ward's going to have a really big day, and I just want to see them run the ball. I want to see them, I just want to see it, man. I just want to see Miles Sanders, breaking tackles and, making those spin moves that he's ever so accustomed to. And it's
the only thing I want to see for the rest of the season offensively, besides Miles Sanders getting at least 15 carries a game, is Jalen Reagor doing well. That's the only thing I care to see. If no one else does anything and Jalen Reagor gets 100 yards a game, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just show me something that this was a good pick. Show me that we are not the laughing stock for not taking Justin Jefferson, even though the scouts recommended it. Show me that Reagor can be what he was drafted to be.
Right. I will say the Reagor punt return did give me a little sense of hope.
Oh yeah, me as well.
You saw his explosiveness at least, and it makes you kind of just side with the fact that he just wasn't used right.
Even that 10-yard end around, it was good. They did it all year. We've been asking for that. It's and they do it. Boom! They rip off 9.5, 10 yards. It's like, come on, man.
And that's I'm with you guys. I would like to just see a competent game plan. An offense that doesn't go stagnant for quarters at a time. Anything of that nature, I'll be happy to just see us if we could just move the ball fluently. That would be wonderful. I'm not expecting, some haymaking plays, by Jalen Hurts. He's just a rookie. Just make the right plays. If we can see some of those chunk plays, sure. We saw it to Jalen Reagor, right out of the gate. Saw it to Greg Ward on a decently deep one. So they'll be there. And if we can just hit on some of those and give me some sense of excitement, because everything has just been dreadful. And it's been I don't know about you guys, it's been a tough year in fantasy football for me. and I have a couple Eagles on each team. So, whether it's, Miles Sanders or Goddard, whatever the case is, it's just been so underwhelming, just no sparks, no excitement, no big plays. And that was kind of my complaint from last year. Even last year when we made the playoffs, it was like 13 play drives,
Right.
So just to see a competent game plan, see them use the quarterback correctly, call the right plays, that would be nice for once. And then, of course, just to see the defense show up with some energy. Don't give those back-breaking plays. Like, if we score a touchdown on offense and it's one of the, 3 scores that we get a game, don't give up a touchdown right after we get it. You know what I mean? Come on, man.
Crazy,
Come on.
Man. It's when one thing they're not cohesive. When one thing's going well, 3 things aren't.
Exactly.
And whether it's special teams not really doing much, or it's the offense playing like crap and the defense bringing all the energy, or vice versa, it's just it's painful to watch. And I'm sure I can speak for you too. Every Sunday I'm going to go watch. I'm going to watch every play,
always.
Same way I always do. But I no longer go in there with a sense of hope. I kind of just go in there with like,
go through the motions.
And they kind of drug us along because they've fooled us. The last 2 seasons with those comeback seasons, making that late playoff push, they fooled us into just truly never giving up on the team. But this is it. It's here. And
but Wentz didn't look the way he does now the last 2 years when when they were dragging to these things. This looks really bad. Like, this is like blow it up. All 0-16 Cleveland Browns bad.
Yeah. But we'll leave it there, guys. Almost felt like a depressing episode, but
I felt like we were venting. Honestly,
we were venting. It was kind of relieving at the same.
Feels like therapy. It's like therapy.
Glad to have you guys here.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Glad
it.
to be here. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it as always.
Guys. My laptop's about to die. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Guys, thank you for coming on the show. Everybody that's listening, be sure to go give these guys a follow on Twitter. Great heads on their shoulders, man. Know their sports. Like I said, my man Sam's got the fantasy down. My man Luke comes with all the statistics. You can catch both of these guys right in for 4th and Jawn. Of course, remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. That's going to be it for me. Peace out, guys. Thank you guys for coming on, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, guys.